We're back with another installment of Mock Draft Mondays on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It subscribes you to the channel and gives you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, but most importantly, join us on the Subtext platform. On Subtext, you're getting alerts right to your phone from Matt and myself, whether it's to answer your questions when it comes to Keeper or Dynasty, or Matt and I updating you with our rankings, which are tiered. We have over 100 outfielders and starting pitchers and much more. You're going to want to check us out on Subtext. We offer so much more on there than we can in this 30-minute podcast. And guys, real quick, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started today. And guys, real quick, we're doing mock draft Mondays on a Monday, maybe a little bit later in the day, but we're doing it on a Monday nonetheless. But real quick, before we jump in and get to the nitty gritty, we're talking mock draft, getting really close to, draft season here. Got to give a special shout out to my brother, Matt. Guys, if you're a fan of the show and you know Matt, Matt didn't give birth, but his wife, Morgan, gave birth to their second child. Matt's wife, Morgan, gave birth to their son, Lucas. So guys, if you know Matt, or even if you don't know Matt and you just want to congratulate him on, having another child in his family, give him a shout out, sound off in the comments below. Let's congratulate Matt on his son, Lucas. All right, guys. So now I'm here without Matt, but Matt is still here in a way. I'm going to be breaking down a mock draft that Matt did the other day. Let's get it up on the screen here. We'll get right to it. We'll put the team up on the screen here. And we're going to switch, get the right view up there. Hold on, bear with me. Matt is normally the tech guy. So I'm getting used to things here. If you're watching on YouTube, we got the team up there for you now. And if you're not watching on YouTube, let's get right into it. And we're going to break down the team. But real quick, this team, this mock draft that Matt did, it was an 12-man league, and he drafted from the 8th spot. So the team is as follows. He took Jonah Heim as his catcher, Vinny Pasquantino at first, Bryson Stott at second, Gunnar Henderson at third, Nelson O'Neill Cruz at short, Fernando Tatis as his outfielder 1, Yordan Alvarez as his outfielder 2, Luis Robert as his outfielder 3. He has Eloy Jimenez and James Outman as his utilities, Blake Snell as his SP1, Jesus Luzardo as his SP2. He has Kenley Jansen and Jose Leclerc as his closers. Yuri Perez is the SP3. Bybee is the SP4. Sonny Gray as the SP5. He has Jose Alvarado as his third closer. His bench is Tristan McKenzie, Aaron Savale, Junior Caminero, Taj Bradley, Chris Bryant. And also, this team was drafted in a head-to-head categories league, by the way, just in case you don't know, that is Matt and I's specialty. And if you join us on Subtext, those are the rankings that Matt and I provide on there. But we always talk points leagues a little bit too. If you give us your settings, we can always give you some feedback on how we think you're doing with your points leagues, or what we think you should do as far as keepers or anything like that. Once again, that's on Subtext. But as we get into things here, Matt was kind of telling me he took a similar approach here to what Matt and I have been doing. And if you haven't been around, or if you forgot, what Matt and I have kind of been doing so far this draft season is we've been waiting to get starting pitchers. So that's what Matt did here too. He did grab Snell and Luzardo, I believe fairly high, but not too high, but I believe before the 10th round of both of those guys, and then didn't take another one until a bit later. So let's kind of look at how this strategy pans out here. I'm going to pull up his draft board here as we talk about it, so I can kind of give you an idea on what rounds where he took certain players, and on just really going to give you the outlook here, and then I'll kind of start to break it down and tell you what I think as we move into the second segment. But in the first, he took Tatis. The thing with Tatis is, can he get back to where he was coming off a couple surgeries on the wrist and the steroid accusation? Can he get back to being that superstar player? Last year was a little bit of a down year, but even, when you don't have all those eyes on you like he did last year, even when you're just coming back from an injury, it's hard to do. It's hard to get back to your, full potential. I think Tatis can do it. I think he's worthy of a first round pick. I think where Matt took him in the 8th spot is, not a bad idea, not a bad move there. Moves into his next pick. He takes Jordan, grabs another outfielder, which I think is a great strategy this year, guys. I think taking outfield early is great. I think outfielder starts to fall off a cliff around 30, 35. You really start to look at names and you're like, I don't know if I want to be, living around here. So, Matt kind of follows suit there. He takes Jordan after he takes Tatis. Jordan, another guy, it's got a couple of injury questions, but then again, who doesn't these days? Love the power upside with Jordan, love the batting average upside with Jordan. I think, another young player that, is going to be great. And Matt makes it 3 outfielders straight, takes Luis Robert, to shore up the outfielder situation there. And I think it's a great play. You get a guy that gets steals, him and Tatis going to chip in, get you probably 20 plus steals each. I think Robert even has batting average last year, didn't hit for a great batting average, career around 290 type of guy. I think Luis Robert's going to be very, very good this upcoming season. Another young dude that has another level that I think we're going to see a lot more from him coming this next year. Then we have Gunnar Henderson was his next pick. That's where he went in the 4th round. I love Gunnar. Another guy that just has, all the right stuff. Had a big breakout in the second half of last year. I think he keeps suit with more of the same this upcoming season. Then Matt taps in here in the 5th round, grabs his first starting pitcher in Blake Snell. I really do love this pick. I kind of want to see where Blake Snell winds up. I know we haven't talked about it here on the podcast yet, but Baltimore went out, got a Corbin Burns. Do they dare go out there and sign up Blake Snell as well with the new management there? Heard Cal Ripken's involved. I think it's possible. Would love to see him pitch there. We'll see though. We really will see where things go. Blake Snell, if he gets a nice landing spot, I think he stays comfortably in that top 12 starting pitchers. I believe I still have him ranked as my 7th starting pitcher, Blake Snell. So I think it's a good move there, grabbing him in the 5th, 6th round. Matt Stanks, O'Neal Cruz, something that Matt and I have both been doing, grabbing O'Neal Cruz. I think the upside of O'Neal Cruz is very, very high. Big home run potential, big steals potential. Ellie's going in the 3rd, and if you can get O'Neal Cruz in the 5th, 6th round, I think that's a great move. Before we go on here and discuss the rest of Matt's team and really break things down in the second half, I might get a little bit more critical of things here and kind of tell you what I would have done differently, and just kind of beat up on our buddy Matt when he's not here a little bit. But before we do that, I do have a quick ad break for you guys. And guys, we are talking about FanDuel. Happy Super Bowl to all of those who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Not only can you bet on who will win the Super Bowl, who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, on an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And guys, real quick before we move on, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering up the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. And guys, I promise you this is the last thing, but this is the one that's most important to, Matt and I. We're introducing the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on the Subtext platform, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. Dive into the offseason with Matt and I as we provide our tiered rankings with over 100 outfielders and starting pitchers. We also have prospect insights, sleepers, breakouts, bust, and we're giving out personalized draft grades, even if it's a mock draft or if you just want to draft and you want a grade and a breakdown. Matt and I are doing that on Subtext. If you have burning questions, Matt and I have the answers, even when it comes to keeper and dynasty players. As the season unfolds, you can rely on us for dynamic content, get real-time alerts right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant call-up alerts, injury reactions, and a whole lot more. Stay ahead in your fantasy league by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext, where the path to victories begin. Subscribe now and elevate your fantasy baseball experience today. Whew. All right, guys. I normally have I normally able to pass it off to Matt here, but Matt is not here, so we're jumping right back in and we're getting back into this team that Matt drafted. Was just a mock draft. Kind of going to just run through this team again and kind of tell you where he drafted everybody. So O'Neal Cruz was his 6th round pick, Luzardo in the 7th as the second pitcher, Yuri Perez in the 8th, Stott in the 9th, Bybee in the 10th, Pasquantino in the 11th, Sonny Gray in the 12th. He goes Jansen, Leclerc, then Eloy, Jose Alvarado, McKenzie, Jonah Heim, Outman, Savali, Caminero, Taj, Bradley, Chris Bryant. So that's the breakdown there round by round. Now, I really want to get into what I like about this team and what I don't like about this team. I think the strong points of this team is actually waiting that far to get, your first pitcher and kind of just slowly building and, winding up with a staff that I think is going to be pretty solid going into the year. I think that's a strength, especially if Blake Snell gets that strong landing spot. Love the outfield. Going 3 outfielders as your first 3 picks is a great move, in day and age where, once again, after about the top 30, 35 outfielders, you're seeing it fall off a cliff. You kind of want to fill your, top 3 outfielder slots, at least your top 2 pretty early on. But now here's where I'm going to be a little bit more critical. Like I said, just because our brother Matt's not here doesn't mean we can't pick on him a little bit. I do like Gunnar Henderson in the 4th round, though a little bit risque. You could have went and you could have got yourself a first baseman here. Let's see who kind of went at first base a little bit later. You have not a Tristan Casas. Now, I guess nobody really is that enticing at first base. I guess you could have went Goldschmidt or waited a couple rounds and got you a Christian Walker. I do actually like Christian Walker. Probably would have done something like that instead of taking Gunnar Henderson there. Would have went maybe shirt up for a different position there. Like I said, he couldn't have gotten any of the elite first baseman, but might have waited to get a first baseman, took a different player there. And if we're just looking at this team as a whole, once again, if you're watching on YouTube, you have the whole team up there in front of you. If you're not, the closer situation is good. I don't know if I would have grabbed the 3rd one in Alvarado. Might have went and got another pitcher there. You can never have too much starting pitching depth in head-to-head categories league, 5x5 standard league. You can never have too much starting pitching in a league like that. Or even, maybe I would have snagged another bench hitter here, because what, all he really has is Eloy, who is going to be utility only on most platforms. I think he retained outfield eligibility on Yahoo, but on most other platforms Eloy's not going to have it. Then he has James Outman and Caminero. You want to get a utility type of guy, a guy that plays multiple positions, right? You want to get a guy that maybe plays first, second, outfield, a guy that plays third outfield, just a guy that has multiple position eligibility, either on your bench and your utility slots. A guy that comes to mind, that Matt and I have been drafting a lot is a Christopher Morel type of guy that is, has second base and outfield on most platforms. Guys like that, get guys like that in your utilities and your bench because they could fill in other spots. I would love to see a guy like that on this team. Another thing is, even though I do like this pitching staff, a lot of uncertainty, right? Where does Blake Snell end up? Can Luzardo take that next step? Had a high ERA, kind of finished out the year a little sluggish last year. Yuri Perez, we know that the skill set's there. We know what the talent's there. Can he do it for 160 innings? Bybee, same question as Perez. Sonny Gray, that's the thing. What I really love about this rotation, though, as I'm trying to pick it apart, Matt and I are brothers, and we think so much alike. It's hard to sit here and really break down his draft, and because I really do like this team. Sonny Gray's a rotation stabilizer. You're going to get a solid ERA. The whip's going to be all right. He's going to be around the K per 9. Goes to St. Louis, very good team. They do very well with starting pitching over there, and I think Sonny Gray will excel. Even a McKenzie coming off an injury last year. We're getting such a value on him this year. Savali is great. Taj Bradley, I'm not in love with, but as a dart, the last one of your picks, can't really go wrong there. I will say this though. Jonah Heim is somebody that I'm not big on this year. I'm really not big on Jonah Heim. I know Matt likes him a lot. This is a debate. I think we'll have more debate-based episodes in the future. So, we'll talk more about Jonah Heim there. And guys, as you bear with me here real quick, I think you can wait on catcher and you could do so much better. You can get guys like Mitch Garver, Logan O'Hoppe, and I think that are going to be on par with a Jonah Heim, or if not even better. You could wait. Where did he get Jonah Heim again? Let's take a look. He took Jonah Heim in the 18th round, and Logan O'Hoppe goes, in the 20th. So, there's room for improvement there, even though Mitch Garver kind of went in that same round, and that's who I really love as well. So it's not really a bad value on Jonah Heim even. So once again, hard to break apart this team and hate it. I think Matt's biggest offense is not, having a little bit better of bench hitters, but sometimes you got to supplement that. You can't always have the best at every position. You do the best you can. And Heim going to be in a good lineup in Texas. Maybe not the guy I would have taken, but where you're getting him, that's where if you're waiting on catcher, you're getting him around that spot anyway. So not a bad pick. Logan O'Hoppe, like I said, goes a couple rounds later. Bo Naylor goes around later. Alejandro Kirk goes in the 22nd round, but I'm not even a fan of his. This is kind of just, and as we move kind of almost into, this last segment here where, we'll kind of give you some final thoughts, some last minute takes and stuff like that, guys. We do have one more quick ad break for you. All right, guys. So final thoughts on this team. We'll start. I'll put a grade on it. Once again, if you want a grade and kind of a written breakdown, a couple sentences, and you could ask us questions on it. Once again, join Matt and I on the Subtext platform. We'll do that for you. But I'm gonna honestly give this team a strong B plus. A strong B plus. I don't love Kenley Jansen as his closer one, but he supplements that with Jose Leclerc and Alvarado, who I actually really love. And to be honest with you, I might have both of them ranked higher. Actually, let me refer to my rankings here, guys. My tiered-based rankings that if you want them, join us on the Subtext platform and you will have access to those and Matt's. In my rankings, actually do have Alvarado at 16. I have, who were the other suspects? Kenley Jansen at 22, and actually I have Jose Leclerc at 13. So, I like them better than Kenley Jansen. So we could have waited on Jansen and, had Leclerc and Alvarado, and that's enough. And then you could play the wire and get your saves, your third closer if necessary there. The bench bats are killing me with just Eloy, who has a lot of upside. James Outman, who I like too, but could potentially be platooned. Let's kind of see how things go. Let's see if Outman could take that step in year 2. Was a rookie of the year candidate for most of the year, kind of faded off, got better. I love Outman, but then, Junior Caminero is your only other bench player. Once you utility knife kind of there. As I said, outfield is strong. Like Gunnar Henderson, hope Vinny P can stay healthy, but I'm high on him too. And, Matt got him out of value where he took him. I have Pasquantino as my 13th first baseman. I do like him. I think, he does have strong power that, Kansas City lineup should be better than last year. So Vinny P is, another strong pick. Guys, I think this is really the vibe this year is waiting on starting pitching and then kind of just do that slow build on it. Kind of like Matt did here. I think it's a great example. If you get your Blake Snell in the 5th round, once again, he has to land in a good spot. But I think even if you wait around, right? Let's look at round 6, what happened here in Matt's draft, right? The start of round 6, you get Kodai Senga as the 4th pick in round 6, Tarek Skubal as the 6th, Fried as the 7th, Zach Eflin as the 9th, Freddie Peralta as the 10th, and Logan Gilbert as the 12th. So even guys like that, I love Kodai Senga. I think he has ace upside. I think Tarek Skubal has ace upside. So those are 3 great names: Snell, Skubal, Senga, the 3 S's. I think we could, do some wordplay with that. The 3 S's. If you get those guys in the 5th or the 6th round, I think you're golden. But then you kind of want to jump back in, right? If you can get you a Max Fried who might slip into the 7th, right? So if you pair up Snell Fried, or where I want to kind of see where Logan Webb went in this draft, right? Did Logan Webb fall? Because I think Logan Webb is another great guy. You're pairing Snell, who has a lot of volatility when it comes to whip. I think the ERA with Snell is still going to be pretty strong, but the whip is questionable. Whip was questionable with Senga last year, even though in the second half the whip was a lot better from Senga. And Skubal, who, really does have that ace upside, especially pitching in Detroit, great park to pitch in. Question mark, how many innings are we going to see from him? Guy coming off an injury. Let's see him, be that good for a full season. You kind of pair them with these rotation stabilizers like the Frieds, the Sonny Grays, the Logan Webbs. Logan Webb actually went in round 4 in this draft, which, haven't been seeing a lot of that, but, it kind of shows you how ADP changes as we, talk through things here. And, you guys are getting the information and, everyone's really starting to get tuned into baseball. You're seeing guys like Logan Webb move up. Logan Webb pitching in a great park. Matt and I are very, very high on him. I know Matt's higher than I am on a Logan Webb. I actually have Logan Webb as my 17th starting pitcher. I think Matt has him even higher, so that kind of shows you, he's going around that range. But you want to pair high volatility guys with stabilizers, and Matt did that somewhat here by getting Sonny Gray. Luzardo, strong SP2, has a lot of question marks himself there. And then, I love the pairing of the young fellas, the Perez and the Bybee, because I think Bybee is another guy that almost is a stabilizer, where I don't think he has this massive upside of the Yuri Perez, or the downside of a Yuri Perez, because if that's another guy who doesn't really put everything together and the stuff doesn't flow the right way, has a lot of, floor as well. So Bybee, another guy that can kind of stabilize. Would have loved to see maybe, even us Aaron Savale, right? Even Aaron Savale, I think what's worst case scenario for Savale, going to Tampa for a full season, a team that fixed the Zach Eflin, right? I think Savale, you can almost even count him as a stabilizer. What's the worst case scenario? 3.8 ERA. But I think the upside is, what did we see from Eflin last year? Low 3s ERA, around a K per 9 for Savale, who could throw 180 innings if he can stay healthy. I say that with Savale, a guy who's really never been able to stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, that's another guy. But, even where he took Taj Bradley, right? Let's go down to where, Matt took Taj Bradley here in the 22nd round. There's not a lot of other pitchers here, but you're kind of looking at a Lucas Giolito, who I'm not a big fan of. We've kind of spoken about him on, this show. Bailey Ober went in the 17th is another guy I almost want to consider, stabilizer, because I think we know what we're getting from Bailey Ober. I don't think the upside's crazy for him, but low to mid threes ERA. You kind of want to find a guy like that instead of, going, let's see how many question marks we can put on this pitching staff, right? I think Blake Snell is somewhat of a question mark. Luzardo is somewhat of a question mark. Yuri is somewhat of a question mark, but the upside there is crazy. Bybee, Sonny Gray, love them too. I want to say I feel like it's pretty safe what we know we're going to get from them. McKenzie's a question mark. I think Civ is kind of like a half, and then Taj is a question mark too, right? So if you would have mixed in one more safe starting pitcher into the staff, would have loved it. And then I kind of even forgot about Chris Bryant here, right? How did I forget about this? And it's funny, Matt and I talked about this too, so Matt's gonna kill me. But you know what? Actually, the bench does look a little bit better when you add the Chris Bryant. If you're taking Chris Bryant as your last pick, I think that's a great pick, because what if Chris Bryant can stay healthy? Saying this about everybody here, so that's like the kind of theme of the team. That's why I graded this team a B plus, because there's a lot of question marks again. And once again, I'll run through this roster real quick. As we're getting to the end of this episode, for listening on the audio end, it's Jonah Heim at catcher, Vinny Pasquantino at first, Bryson Stott at second, Gunnar Henderson at third, O'Neill Cruz at short, Fernando Tatis as his outfielder 1, Jordan as his outfielder 2, Luis Robert as his outfielder 3, Eloy Jimenez and James Outman as his bench, Blake Snell, Jesus Luzardo as his 1-2 punch with the starting pitcher. Then you have Yuri Perez, Bybee, and Sonny Gray to round out the top 5, McKenzie as his 6, Savale as a 7, Taj Bradley as his 8. And then he has closing Kenley Jansen, Leclerc, Alvarado, and then Junior Caminero and Chris Bryant as his bench. And honestly, in a 12-man league, I keep saying it, it's hard to really pick this team apart. Maybe a lot of health question marks, maybe a lot of, not a lot, but maybe a couple performance question marks. But, even when you look at his bats here, you mix in the young guys with the Stotts, Henderson, O'Neill Cruz's, you know, you maybe you want to kind of see a little bit more of those veterans in this lineup, those sure things, right? Maybe that's where we can, kind of pick into this team a little bit too, is that where are your veterans? Where are your guys that are gonna, hey, we definitely know what we're getting from these guys? Because I feel like even though Jordan's been around and Luis Robert's been around, they're still fairly young, right? But I feel like we do know what we're gonna get from them. But question marks with O'Neill Cruz, even though I love him. Question marks with Gunnar Henderson. Question marks with Stott, Pasquantino, Heim, Tatis. So, that's why I still think this team deserves a nice little B plus, but there's ways we can improve. There's other things we can do. I want to talk about, a guy that I kind of been grabbing as either my utility or, first bench sometimes, but I think the value is going up on is a Marcell Ozuna. I think this team could have, benefited from a Marcell Ozuna. Let's kind of go back and kind of see where he went in this draft and where Matt would have had to take him to add him to his team. But we're nitpicking here, kind of just I know Ozuna retained outfield eligibility on Yahoo. Not sure if he really has it anywhere else. So Ozuna went in the 13th round, and where was Matt? Matt was taking Kenley Jansen here, and honestly, I think that's a great trade-off. I think that's where you'd make the trade-off with this team, right? Because then you could still take Leclerc in the next round, and you could still take Alvarado 2 rounds later, right? Then you don't have to take Eloy, right? Then your draft kind of start a little different here. Then you don't have to take Eloy, and you can maneuver and you can make other moves. But that's just why we kind of go through this process. We see what players we like, we see where the values are. And we all make our own decisions and our own calls, and we go from there. So that's really my thoughts here on Matt's team. I think next mock draft Monday, I'm going to do a draft, and the approach that I'm going to take is I'm actually going to go high on starting pitchers, because I know we've been talking about doing this kind of strategy where we're waiting on starting pitchers. Let's do the other hand. Let's kind of see what is it looking like when we're taking maybe a Corbin Burns in the second, and building around that. Maybe we go a Corbin Burns in the second, and we go a George Kirby in the fourth, and we kind of see how a draft like that looks and a team like that looks, and if we like it better or worse. I know I've done a couple like that, and I really haven't liked where my bats have wound up, so I kind of have done a couple more teams that have looked similar to kind of this construction. And I know you guys haven't really seen any of my mocks yet. So we'll kind of do one of mine next week, and maybe we'll do another one the week after where I kind of do a take on this strategy and show you guys, kind of the teams that I'm building with it. But, with that being said, guys, we appreciate you guys tuning in. This is the, best time of year for fantasy baseball. We're super excited to be here with you guys and, just go through this process as, I know drafts are, creeping up and your keepers are locking and we're all excited. But guys, that's all for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. And guys, until next time, see ya.